Watching ACC college soccer on ESPNU today, we know you have questions, like will one goal be enough? Could it take two? Maybe more? And who's gonna win? Here's what we do know. The team that wins today takes home the ACC Women's Championship title and this hard-earned piece of hardware. Two top 10 teams answer those questions next on ESPNU. You're watching the ACC on ESPN, and from WakeMed Soccer Park on a sun-drenched day in Cary, North Carolina, we welcome you to the 2018 ACC Women's Soccer Championship Final. It's 7-seeded, 7th-ranked Florida State taking on number 3, top seed North Carolina. Look at the bracket. 3 second-half goals from Florida State. They're past Virginia. North Carolina knocking off 5th-seeded Clemson on Friday afternoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Joined by Kat Whitehill, former ACC champion, Mike Watts on hand. And these two teams play a little differently. It really comes down to which side can get their style into the game.
Well, North Carolina is high pressure, and they really evolved into that this season. It makes them so dangerous. And Florida State, they are so possession-oriented, so they have to be smart in the back, maybe even go a little bit more direct than they're used to relieve some of that North Carolina pressure.
Well, Florida State has an incredible goal scorer in Dana Castellanos who can change the entire game. We saw that Friday.
And she's so good on the ball. She has to touch the ball as much as possible today for Florida State to be successful. She's one of the best players in the country. She was nominated for FIFA World Player of the Year last year, so she's going to be key today against a tough midfield in North Carolina.
North Carolina led that midfield by a player who was on the U.S. U20 World Cup side.
And Brianna Pinto is a special player. She is so fast, but one thing that makes her great is her vision and speed of play throughout the midfield. You will see her all over the field, and it's going to be an exciting battle to watch between her and Castellanos. When
this year started, you could have penciled these two teams in and probably had a pretty good idea what was coming. It's the 7th all-time meeting between UNC and FSU in the final. It's coming up next.
You got a project, you need a part. So you go to AutoZone.com. You find the part, you order the part. You choose free next day delivery, and you sleep. The next day, you get in the part, and the job gets done. Free next day delivery from AutoZone. Available on up to 100,000 parts.
North Carolina, the long-standing standard bearer in the Atlantic Coast Conference, back in the Women's Soccer Championship Final against a familiar foe, Florida State, from WakeMed Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. With Kat Whitehill, Mike Watts, we meet the starting lineups, and we begin with Coach Krikorian's lineup for Florida State. Why make any changes, especially after that second half?
The second half was special for Florida State, and they're going to come out. It's going to look 4-4-2, turns into a 4-3-3. And you're going to keep an eye on Yuji Zhao in there. She was ACC Freshman of the Year, and what a special player that Coach Krikorian found from China. And she and Castellanos in the midfield are quite the duo.
Anson Dorrance does not play a 3-4-3, even though he'd probably like to.
He wishes he could, but he's in a 4-3-3. And Samantha Leshnak is almost to 1,100 minutes without a goal. And so we're going to see if that continues today. She has just been a rock in the back for North Carolina.
Tar Heel Blue against the Garnet and Gold of Florida State. The 2018 ACC Women's Soccer Championship Final is underway from North Carolina with Kat Whitehill and Mike Watts. As Florida State, the number 7 seed, trying to be the first team to take the 7 seed and ultimately win the title in the tournament against the North Carolina side that has won 12 straight games since the start of SEC play. When these two teams met each other in mid-September, a 1-0 win in Tallahassee for North Carolina, what, the 14th, give or take? Rachel Jones, the game winner in that one in the 29th. Matchup history, and there's a lot of it. These teams have played a lot, and that's why Florida State has gotten North Carolina's number more than any other team in North Carolina's illustrious history. They've lost to Florida State 8 times, nearly twice as much as any other opponent.
Yeah, but the stat in there was North Carolina leads in the title game 5-1. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams play. But what is extremely interesting right now is there is so much space on this field on the outside because everything is central. You're looking at two very compact teams right now. And so if they can get to the outside, that right now is going to be where both these teams can be successful.
Abby Carl for Jalen Howell, who we were told is okay to go on today after picking up a bit of a knock to her leg in the semifinal. A 3-1 win against the Cavaliers of Virginia on Friday. Mark Krikorian, 14th season at the helm for Florida State. And an incredible record that includes going to the College Cup more often than he hasn't in that tenure.
He's absolutely one of the best coaches in the country, and he is so good at finding players from all over the world. The international list for him just keeps going, and it's just because he does so much homework. He has an incredible staff as well, and he just continues to help this program grow.
Carl. This is Tillman. Tillman runs into Schultz, who comes away with it for Carolina.
And that's what you're going to see a lot from North Carolina, double teaming on those flanks, because Tillman, Lynch, McFarland in there, they are so good on the ball, and they don't want them to see any sort of possession at their feet, because they don't want them to find those midfielders in the midfield, because if the more touches Castellanos and Zhao have in the middle, the better Florida State is.
Not Anson Doran's first rodeo, 40th season as the head coach for North Carolina's women's soccer program. He's won 21 national titles, and he's looking for ACC tournament title number 23.
And it's fun. Two of the best coaches in the country battling it out, and we talked about this in the Open, but two styles that they have stuck with throughout their careers, and it's going to be interesting to see which team can play their game plan better than the other, because that's going to be critical today. They do not want to stray too far from that.
This is Ashley, 4-year starter. Otto. Cuica, not a piece, and that was last touched by North Carolina. Brooke Bollinger is the goalkeeper, a redshirt freshman who replaces Cassie Miller. This team allowed no goals in the opening 507 minutes of their season.
But you can see in that picture right there, on the goal kicks, both of these teams go so central. I would be interested to see if maybe a Florida State player might go back, receive that ball from that goal kick, and start possession a little bit in the back. But right now, I think they're so concerned with the North Carolina pressure. They don't want to do that quite as early in the game, so they're going to be looking a little longer. And North Carolina wants to win both the first and second ball when that ball gets played on those goal kicks.
Andrew Jeske. Ashley will have this deflect back. Ruben Moy, the sophomore from London. Played back by Howell. There's the pressure as it's popped up into the air by Kimball. It's in for the injured Alessia Russo as the star striker this side, the redshirt senior, who burst onto the scene in the opener this ACC tournament with a game-winning goal.
Well, they need her to play well, because losing a player like Alessia Russo, who's just a natural goal scorer, they need to find that next player to step up. Right now it has been Kimball.
Service across, one-timed, back across the face of goal, deflected on the way. Corner here for North Carolina, just over 5 minutes in.
And Ruben Moy is going to take this corner kick. She takes about every set piece because she has such a great service. It's just, can North Carolina get on the end of it? Keep your eye on number 4, Andrew Jeske, on these. She's an excellent header for North Carolina.
Andrew Jeske, 4 in Tar Heel blue. Ruben Moy. The header is caught by Bollinger on the goal line. It looked like Morgan Goff, who got forward, got a piece of that.
And it's a good job of getting up from Goff, but an easy save for Bollinger, because nicely done from Florida State to at least get a body on it. If you can't win the header, you want to make sure it's not an easy run into the box to get a piece of it.
Farland commits the foul. That was sort of the issue with Clemson on Friday, because Carolina got a ton of service into the area and didn't quite take advantage, but Florida State's not going to be so easy.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to beat a goalkeeper like Bollinger. She's really stepped up well this year for them. And their back four is some of the best in the country. They're so good at staying connected, but they're really good at their spacing and their 1v1 defending. And so North Carolina wants to look for those crosses because of how good they are, but at the same time, they're going to have to be clinical in their runs and where they hit those crosses to get a goal by Bollinger.
Trailing away. Schultz came, edge of the area, bobbled by Bollinger, and she's got it now.
She's breathing a bit of a sigh of relief, and it was a smart play coming off her line quickly. Schultz was pressuring, but just too many bodies in there for her to get a clean take of it, but gets the second ball, and right after that, just releases that breath because you just get so nervous when that ball is bobbling around and you're nowhere near your goal.
Andrzejewski pokes it for a flag. Is up here against Schultz for offside.
Offside, Carolina.
Well, Schultz looked great in the first half of this ACC tournament at Carey semifinal. 3 goals in 21 matches this year.
Well, her play got her more minutes, and Anson Dorrance talked about how important she was for them. You know, with Russo out, Kimball's having to step up, but they also need a player with Fox out and other players, and Rachel Jones out. They need other players to step up, and Schultz has been that player on the wing right now, and she's been getting up and down the flank, getting in good crosses for them, and putting that pressure on. That right now, it just is really giving teams a lot of fits, and they can't really get out of their back easy.
Pavlisko to throw. The freshman who's slid into a starting role at outside back. Andrzejewski, that'll roll away. Well, you come into this game and you can't help but think that these teams met in the opening ACC game of the regular season, and there was so much still to be written about this 2018 campaign at that point. Most notably, Florida State didn't have anything close to a full roster. Neither of these teams did in non-conference play. So is that an accurate depiction of today? Maybe, maybe not.
Well, it's interesting because Florida State in that game didn't have all of their players, while UNC had most of theirs. Well, it's the opposite today. You have Russo out. You have Emily Fox, who's called up with the U.S. women's national team. Rachel Jones has been injured, but she plays for the Jamaican national team as well. And so you just have all these pieces that you're trying to put together. And that was what Florida State was doing early. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams come out today. But I do think 1-0 was probably the right score at that stage, but might be a little bit different today. Because both these teams are very tired.
Yeah.
They just played on Friday.
I mean, that was a couple of wars on Friday in the rain here at Wake Med Soccer Park. Zhao, that's away. Saw Florida State's resume on the year, including a blowout win over UCLA, a team that coming into the tournament had freshmen play 83 games as starters. 5 freshman starters, 3 sophomores most of the time. And yet they're the 7th ranked team in the country, the number 7 seed in their own conference tournament.
Well, look, they were so impressive in that second half against Virginia. If they can play like that, they won't lose the rest of the way. That was just how impressive they were, because Virginia is an excellent team. And they made Virginia look average. And that just says a lot, and that just shows you the talent this Florida State team has.
Ashley playing long, Kimball in a foot race with Malia Berkeley. Schultz approaching the post, Ashley making a run, Andrzejewski the trailer. And this will get flicked toward the byline and out for a North Carolina corner over 10 minutes into the match. Mark Krikorian made note of how good the service was from Wubin Moy in the semifinal against Clemson.
Well, it's a line drive, so it's difficult to defend because you really have to clear it far, but it's a perfect ball if you want to attack it, and that's why they have to be very focused on every single set piece.
Second corner of the game by Wubin Moy.
well, as we compliment her, goes out for a goal kick. So.
At the target on her first corner in the match, not so much on the second. As Bollinger backs into net, mom Donna, North Carolina swimmer. Dad Brian, North Carolina football player. Ended up playing for the 49ers in the NFL briefly. And I'm sure her parents know exactly who they're rooting for today.
Absolutely.
Away from Kimball, throw for Carolina. Schultz brings it down, double teamed. It comes out to Zhao. Pressure came from McFarland and Tillman. Tillman really trying to push the issue with Goff.
It just seems that Florida State just can't get that rhythm quite yet. The pressure is really forcing a lot of unforced errors and unnecessary turnovers.
Kimball looking for Andrew Jeske, and Bollinger let that ball loose for a split second and recovers.
Well, this all starts with Kimball just trying to find Andrew Jeske on the backside, but Bollinger was able to scoop that up even with a little bobble. But it's coming from Tillman losing the ball, hoping to play it back. But she's taking one extra touch, which gives UNC an opportunity to win the ball back. So Florida State has to play quicker in the back, and they can't be afraid to go direct. That's one thing that Coach Krikorian talked about in the Virginia game, that even though they're not used to playing direct, sometimes you just have to relieve the pressure, put the other team on their heels a little bit, force them to face their goal. And right now, Florida State just can't get any kind of possession.
All slipped ahead to Otto. There's Pinto, we highlighted earlier. Pinto onto her left, slipping it through. Bollinger off her line.
And this is an excellent idea from Pinto, just beating a few Florida State players. The ball is kept so close to her body, trying to slip Otto in, but just misses on the touch. Zhao doing a nice job of following the run, but maybe Pinto could have looked up, taken a shot. She was in the kind of range that you would look for maybe a bent ball into a far post.
Pinto was recruited by Florida State. Rumor has it Dad wanted her to stay a little bit closer to get to more games. North Carolina, a bit of an advantage geographically.
Well, she's been extremely impressive to me, and we talked about her speed of play and her vision of the game, but she's fast in the midfield. She can cover so much ground, and she just doesn't seem to tire. And she's one of the most complete players that Anson Dorrance has ever recruited, and he told us that as a freshman coming in, that he's been so impressed with her and how mature she already is as a freshman.
I'm sitting here, Howell on the ball now. Howell and Pinto could be linchpins for the next 4 years in this conference. Zhao on the ground. And the first touch for Samantha Leshnak, who had 2 consecutive 0-save shutouts to start the tournament. That's her first save.
That's an easy save for her. But you were talking about Howell and Pinto. They should have been connected in the U20 World Cup. Pinto wasn't starting, but Howell was in this past World Cup this summer. But I genuinely believe had Pinto been starting with Howell in there in the midfield, the U.S. would have gotten out of their group play. But those are 2 special players that they're just freshmen. And we can see a bright future for Howell and Pinto.
So Kuikka, native of Finland, seniors on this Florida State roster, drives it away. A good step by Kimball. He's been active so far in this final. It's with Florida State. Florida State, 40 goals by 13 different scorers. They have been a diverse offense, which compared to last year where Castellanos scored 19 times, it's been a little more wide open, maybe a little more difficult to slow down.
Well, Castellanos, her problem right now is she's been disappearing during games, and we haven't called her name really at all because she hasn't touched the ball. And when she does touch the ball, that's when they're the most dangerous because she does see the game very well. She changes the point quickly. But right now, North Carolina, right there, you can see 3 blue players around Castellanos. They know they have to keep an eye on her.
Tuesday on ESPN, we tip off the college basketball season, the 8th annual State Farm Champions Classic for the top teams in the nation. It's number 10 Michigan State, number 1 Kansas in the early game, 7 p.m. Eastern. Then 4th-ranked Duke, 2nd-ranked Kentucky. Both sonic blockbusters, also available live on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. North Carolina making their first change, and while we were wondering how much time Jones would see, Schultz was impressive in the semifinal, but Jones really added a spark.
Yeah, she did. She got the assist on the goal that beat Clemson on Friday night, but they need her to step up, and I wouldn't be surprised if she got about 20 minutes in the whole game, 10 minutes per half. I would see her getting more like 15 per half in this game. She might be one of the freshest players out on the field. Turned
over. Wubin Moy will come and collect it as Brooke Bingham tried to dribble away from Zhao, who's now hampering Wubin Moy. And it slips all the way through. Stabbed ahead, and Otto. The slide from Castellanos didn't hit home. Pinto. Nice interchange. Castellanos throws her heel back, knocks it down. And here comes Zhao. What a pleasure it is to watch her.
Well, she's been quite the find for Coach Krikorian. Gao Hong and Soon Win, some former WUSA players from his days with the Philadelphia Charge. Soon Win didn't play for Philadelphia Charge, but he got some texts from them, and they told him all about her, and he looked at her, and now he's been so grateful that she decided to come to Florida State. ACC Freshman of the Year.
Tillman, great move. Tillman trying to get McFarland. McFarland pirouetting in the box, and ball didn't land kindly for her. Back ahead to Tillman off the deflection. Pavlisko. Lynch caught by Leshnak.
And that's an excellent move there from Tillman. She's so clever on the ball. I like the idea to try and get to McFarland, but Bingham stays with the run, which is so important. But Tillman was one of the most impressive players to me against Virginia. We don't talk about her nearly enough, but she plays a lot of minutes for Florida State, and she can play right side, left side, in the middle. She just sees the game really well, and she connects well with the forwards and the outside backs.
Zhao charges ahead. Tillman is on the right-hand side, and Tillman slides it in front. Leshnak is there, and she is less than a minute away from crossing 1,100 straight minutes without conceding a goal, an individual North Carolina record.
Well, you're really starting to see Florida State grow into this game. They're finally getting some possession. They're getting their midfielders to touch the ball like Zhao. And Tillman open on that right side. And if she had just gotten it a little bit back, Leshnak wouldn't have been able to get to that ball, and it would have been Zhao for the goal. But they're starting to become a little bit more dangerous in the attack.
Kimball trying to get around. And her effort will win a throw for Carolina. So over 20 minutes into this, and as expected, fairly even stuff. Carolina's had a decent amount of the ball, and Florida State growing into the game quite well with their possession. One shot apiece so far. Ashley, wind is swirling, and Bollinger will grab that.
Well, now for both of these teams, we talk about them growing in the game. They only have one shot, they have to be smarter in the attacking third. That ball right there from Ashley just is a wasted attempt because there's only one player not even close to being in a potential scoring threat, and 3 players in and around her to pass the ball, combine a little bit in their attacking third, try and beat the defense a little bit rather than just settling for an easy cross.
Zhao. Castellanos from here, just over the crossbar. You've seen her deliver the goods from that distance time and time again. It was deflected. It is a corner.
And that's so dangerous. It looked like Leshnak was a little bit unsure of where the ball was going to go, and this is where Florida State is so dangerous with their midfielders running with the ball with acres of space, and you have to pressure Castellanos because of how dangerous she is with those long-range shots with a little deflection, but that looked like that was going upper 90.
Now Leshnak was wondering why she didn't touch his Wubin Moy that got a piece of that. So a corner for Florida State, their first. And pierced outside the box. Huica. Driven by Carl. That's caught. Someone more clever with adjectives might call it a sun-splashed day with 9-mile-an-hour winds. Pavlisco. Tillman arrives. Zhao. Oh, excellent ball to the right-hand side. And it's off the side netting. Castellanos isn't going to get a more open look than that. As a corner coming for Florida State.
Well, that touch just slowed it down just enough for the North Carolina defenders to come in and block it. But look at all this space that has been given to Castellanos, and Bingham just got around to it and was able to get a deflection because that is a dangerous spot there for Castellanos.
Taking the corner, Leshnak. There was a lot of traffic there.
That's what you want from your goalkeeper, to come out confident. When you play a zone like North Carolina does, you want to make sure that your goalkeeper has a good range on the crosses.
Leshnak in her senior season out of Mount Notre Dame in Liberty Township, Ohio. Had a wonderful year last year by Anson Dorrance. Commentary right up to the loss to Princeton in the NCAA tournament, and has worked on her decision making and has just had a wonderful, tremendous year. As both teams will work their bench a little bit here. Zhao and McFarland check out for Florida State. You know, coming into this game, Kat, we were talking, what does one extra day really matter? A Friday, Sunday, semi, and final? The answer is a lot.
Massive. Even more than a lot. It's massive just because these teams, are used to Thursday, Sunday. They've been doing it the whole year. Not since early stages did any of these teams play Friday, Sunday. And when it matters the most in the tournament, they have one of the quickest turnarounds of any teams with a Friday night game and then an early Sunday game. And so it's difficult to recover. You want to make sure you get those ice baths in, and you get the massages, and just sit down and don't do anything for as much as you can where you're not uncomfortable, because you just don't want to move, because that's the only way to really recover as much as you can in such a short time.
Some of these players got supremely banged up in that last game. Those were not finesse matches by any stretch of the imagination.
I was talking to the assistant coach Bill Palladino before the game, and he was saying that, you know, the players weren't wearing, you know, their shin guards or anything, and you're seeing huge cleat marks just all over their legs. Just because of how physical that game is. And it's the same on with Virginia when Florida State played them, and another physical match. And it's just, it is so difficult to recover. Fortunately, they're young. I couldn't recover like that anymore, so they can do it. But it's still tough to play at the highest level that you can. So we'll probably be seeing a lot more substitutions today.
I was about to say, doesn't it make you just yearn to get back to the game?
I never thought about recovery, but now that I do think about it more, I probably should have done a better job. So hopefully these women are doing that. That is in college. Once I started getting older, I knew how important recovery was.
Pavlisco. Down shifts for Jalen Howell. Pressure converging from Carolina, and this will sneak all the way through. Dallas Dorsey. Wika. They've broken that first line. The extra tap finds Tillman. Slides it ahead for Dorsey. And now Castellanos trying to create a bit of space, and it was a swarm of blue shirts.
I mean, so good until the final ball right there from Castellanos. But the movement off the ball from Florida State, the decision-making in the attack, that's right now been the biggest difference for Florida State. They're giving the UNC defense fits.
Villalobos finds Lynch, who reaches the byline and plays it toward the penalty spot. The ball shot and deflected away. Castellanos, he was right at the top of the ACC in shots per game, to nobody's surprise. Now Berkeley, who's new to that center back role and not unfamiliar, charging ahead. Villalobos. Tillman, the one of the front three that did not come off on the earlier substitution. Berkeley to turn the corner. Slide in on point. It's Brooke Bingham. And a throw for Carolina as they withstand the pressure here.
Well, it's been all Florida State now. The UNC pressure just hasn't been doing it. But look at the movement off the ball and the decision making. Castellanos was unfortunate that 2 UNC players were able to recover. But really, this has been tough for North Carolina. Castellanos is finally touching the ball, and you can see now why Florida State is successful when she does touch it.
Tillman back onto her feet. We were told she has 2 very divergent personalities. With the coaches, very serious, very focused. And then you get her into the locker room with her teammates, and she's bubbly and excited and dancing and just a totally different person away from the coaching staff.
We talked to Coach Kokoria, and he was like, yeah, you know, when people ask me to describe, you know, Tillman, I say she's a quiet, and then when I talk to the girls, they're like, you don't really know her off the field. She is funny, she is great to be around, so maybe just it's good to have a dual personality because you can bring it to life on the field. And she's just been a really special player for Florida State in this tournament.
Now for Villalobos, maybe a chance for Carolina to get out in transition. And broken up by Berkeley, only for a moment. Now Howell cleans it up.
Well, this has been the problem. North Carolina finally gets the ball back, and they can't keep possession, and Florida State then goes into transition. So North Carolina, they now need to put their foot on the ball, try and get 2 to 3 passes, because right now they're just giving the ball away too easily.
At the feet of Kingman. He saw out really early today on the field. Maybe a little bit of those pre-championship jitters. Lobos, Castellanos, pursued by Pinto and Otto. Howell steps into space and strikes this into Leshnak. Hey fans, 15 schools all on one network, a new place to call home. The ACC network coming August 2019. You think we'll see these 2 teams on there once in a while?
I think you'll see them a lot just because of the high quality, but ACC all around is such a high-quality conference. It's the best in the country, top to bottom. And they could get as many as 10 teams into the NCAA tournament.
Replacing number 12, Casey Tillman.
Tillman takes a seat. Megan Connolly is checked in. Rachel Dorward gave chase. She had a surprising starring role in the semifinal on Friday against Clemson. As Dorian Bailey checks out.
Got the game-winning goal. for UNC, and that's where they're struggling right now without Russo, is finding those goal scorers. So the more they can get different people scoring goals for them, the better it is for them in this game and the NCAA tournament.
Mucherera just came onto the field. Now by Dorsey, and now Wubin Moy. Off of Connolly. All shifting aside, maybe a little more grip of the ball here from Florida State. Some possession that could prove pretty crucial.
Well, it's really been the last 10 minutes of Florida State has not allowed much of anything from North Carolina. They've been in their attacking half for the most part. They're getting rid of the ball quicker, which doesn't allow for the UNC pressure to work. So North Carolina has to work better collectively, be smarter when they go and when they don't go. And then when they do win the ball, they have to keep it.
Pinto can't slip it through. Connolly was stepping forward, but Carolina's back on the ball. With Carolina, it's homecoming weekend in Chapel Hill. Maybe a few more fans than typical. Raleigh-Durham area to watch these two teams clash. Florida State was asking their alums in the area to come on out. Mucherera dragging it through the penalty area. Deflects down, sliding effort, falls for Dorward. Dorward! She scores another one in this tournament. We're starting to talk about MVP kind of caliber performance. This ACC championship.
Well, this is a massive miss, though, from her. Just because she had the opportunity. Mucherera does an excellent job of being the defender, cutting in, and then with a nicely played ball. And Rachel Jones tries to get a piece of it, and the Dorward finally gets it, but just wasn't able to turn her hips and doesn't even get the ball in frame. And you see the frustration in her eyes. That was a excellent goal-scoring opportunity for North Carolina.
First North Carolina shot since 39-14 on the clock. It's a situation neither of these teams are overly used to. We had a couple of those stretches yesterday between Virginia and North Carolina, those long stretches. One team gripped the ball hard on Friday. Corner won by North Carolina. We know Andrew Jeske was a phenomenal target in the semifinal. Ruben Moy is that to the penalty spot. Pinto drives. Out to Wubin Moy. That dangerous second ball curled. Dorsey turns it over, and there's the foul. Villalobos, the one who had taken over and slipped to ground.
Well done from Florida State just to get the ball to the area. There was a couple of opportunities for nice balls in from North Carolina. Villalobos tries to get the ball off, and good pressure from North Carolina.
Substitution for Florida State entering number 15, Olivia Vergara, replacing number 4, Christina Lynch. Substitution for Carolina entering number 15, Zoe Day, replacing number 10, Rachel Jones.
Rachel Jones will come off. The substitutes there. Zoe Raday come on for North Carolina. Kingman. Mucherera collects and goes one-on-one. And a heavy touch.
One good positioning there from Carl. It was a nice move from Mucherera, but Carl wasn't fazed by it. She used the body well to get in between the ball and the player and makes it look easy to keep possession and win the ball at the same time.
Headed into space, Howell leading the charge. Only Dorsey in front. Dorsey bodied by Wubin Moy. Villalobos. Howell slips it ahead. Dorsey! Dallas Dorsey ends North Carolina's month-long streak without conceding. Florida State leads in this final.
UNC defense got caught ball watching. They weren't aware of Dorsey. Good pressure here on Villalobos, but they had a lot of time and space for Howell to look up. And North Carolina wasn't able to cover, but what an excellent ball in from Howell to find Dorsey, making the run, stayed on side, and just with a little far post slot goal for Florida State gives them the lead and ends Leshnak's shutout streak.
36th minute. And Florida State jumps in front against North Carolina. The 7th UNC FSU ACC final. North Carolina's taken 5 of the previous 6. Led by Raday. October 7th, the last time UNC gave up a goal. It was a 7-1 win against Syracuse. Bouncing ball, Mucherera was offside.
You know, both these teams have made the substitutes that they want to make, given their starters a little bit of a break. But the key for Florida State is they have players like Megan Connolly, who was a starter for them last few years, was National Player of the Year her freshman year, and then you have Dorsey, who scores the goal. She could also be our starter for this team. So the depth for Florida State is really a big difference. It's been a big difference today, but it will be a big difference in the NCAA tournament, because when you play a lot of games and you play this Friday, Sunday schedule, you need other players to step up.
Berkeley dumps this into the right-hand side. It's a throw for Florida State. For Carolina, that's only the 9th goal they've given up this year, 6 in the first halves of games. And for the goalkeeper, the first time she's conceded since August. We're going to have to really bear down, do some math here, but it's over 1,100 game minutes since she conceded.
I'll leave that up to you. Give you your math skills.
Leave that up to our statistician. Ball poked out of play by Julia Ashley. Florida State's had a couple combination plays where you thought, okay, they're onto something here.
Yeah, they've just grown into the game really well, and a lot of that is because of their movement. They're starting on their front foot. They're opening up their body better, and that's one thing that Coach Corian talked about in the halftime speech against Virginia is look to where you're playing the ball. Look how your body is opening, where you are positioned on the field. It's the little things that are the difference in winning championships and not winning, and that's why Florida State is doing a much better job in the attacking third in this game.
Scored the final 3 goals against Virginia in a 3-1 win, and now the opener in this one. Floated across, header wide of the post. On Tuesday, special time, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, we have the exclusive reveal of the College Football Playoff Top 25 rankings live in between games at the Champions Classic after Michigan State, Kansas, and before Duke, Kentucky. Reese and the guys break them down top to bottom, and as always, watch it live on the ESPN app from anywhere. LSU might take a bit of a dip. That Alabama game yesterday was a pretty... is it really shocking?
Yeah, it's not very shocking. They're just that dominant.
I'm standing next to someone who grew up in Alabama, so...
Yeah. You get tired of listening to it, but you can't deny how good they are just because of what Coach Saban has done down there.
Game respects game over here.
That's right.
Offside, Carolina.
Offside call here 3 times now. Flag's gone up on Carolina. Ashley does have to keep this in at the end. Forward now, Pinto. Slide in, a dangerous one from Kingman, swinging her feet up. Sends Villalobos to ground.
Yeah, she wins the initial ball, but then at the end, that leg comes up a little too high. She's wondering why the ref called it, but you can see right at the end, that leg is way too high, and it's a good call from the referee as Villalobos goes down.
Wika for Pavlisco. Florida State coming off their first comeback win of the season. Trailed at halftime against UVA. Villalobos. And laid ahead. Played across. Ball bounces in front. It's in! Dorsey again! Florida State a 2-0 lead short of halftime.
Four clearances from UNC, and it's been all Florida State, and the substitutions for them have made the biggest impact, and they have just given North Carolina a fit. You can see Ashley didn't have her body turned properly, just wasn't able to get a good enough clearance, and just bounces to Dorsey, and she's able to finish. But Ashley has to be frustrated with herself, because when you're in the box like that, you have to turn your body so that you don't allow for that kind of deflection to happen, and Dorsey is so happy. 2 goals for her. What a difference these substitutes have made for Florida State.
Burgal was the one who took it all the way to the goal line, and then Dorsey, 36th and 41st. She had 8 goals last year, had just 2 coming into the tournament, has 2 on the day. Well, we were talking about questions at the outset. I don't think that was a question that was being asked. There would be that unexpected star. There's so many big names that could have provided the finishing touches, but it's Dorsey who so far had an ACC final to remember.
One of the questions that we didn't have was the style of play, and whoever stuck to their game plan would win. And it's been all Florida State since about the 30th minute, 25th, maybe between the 25th and 30th minute. They have gotten their rhythm. They've possessed the ball. They have not allowed for North Carolina to get a lot of pressure, and that's why they're up 2-0 right before the half.
Dorsey not once but twice out of St. Thomas Aquinas, Broward County Player of the Year, native of Fort Lauderdale, South Florida. Over on the Atlantic side. Someone we were told can really help open the game up. Pinto, North Carolina would love to get one back before the half. McCabe, it's a foul near the end line.
Foul. Carolina.
And we'll talk about it at halftime. Teams in and out of the NCAA tournament. The bubble is always interesting because that 9th, 10th team from the ACC so often depends on whether an auto bid gets in or gets left out, and then you need to push someone else into a spot, and those things can get a little dicey. We'll talk about that. And one thing we aren't going to talk about, but at some point we probably should. If you're Florida State, you win this game, are you talking about a #1 seed versus a #2? If you're North Carolina, it's still 1 seed after running the table in the ACC. You would think that's a conversation.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one for the NCAA committee to figure out. It's hard to deny North Carolina with the regular season going undefeated in the ACC not to give them a 1 seed when their losses are to 2 top 5 teams in Santa Clara, or top 10 teams in Santa Clara and Stanford. So hard to deny that, but when Florida State is looking this dominant and winning the ACC championship, it'll be very interesting when they reveal those brackets soon.
Ashley, final minute of the first half. Pinto knocks it ahead. It's tapped by Pavlisco.
Well, the key for North Carolina at halftime, they're going to have to really look at how do they change, how do they get back to the pressure that they so depend on. But if they can't get the pressure, how do they keep the ball better? They've just been giving the ball away unnecessarily this whole game, and Florida State is really giving them fits when, as soon as they lose the ball, they're the ones that are picking up the loose balls.
And here come the Seminoles. Dorsey is coming. Boy, Leshnak had to get that right. Or Dorsey's talking about a first half hat trick.
9, 8, 7, 6.
Well, Leshnak didn't want that to happen, but again, it's giveaways from North Carolina. And Florida State is making the most of those opportunities, but well done to get off the line from Leshnak.
For only the 25th time in North Carolina history, they trail by 2. Florida State this year, perfect when they lead at the half. Got a 2-0 lead, 45 in the books. Well, if you're Mark Krikorian, I got to think he's pretty jubilant at the present moment.
You got to be extremely happy when you have your substitutes getting 2 goals and knowing that both teams are tired, and now your starters have had a nice break, getting ready for the second half.
Florida State, a disjointed season by his own admission. Players in and out with international duty and the Youth World Cup, and they felt like they were playing their best ball right now. And truth be told, it sure looks that way. Mark Krikorian joins us from the sideline. Coach, 2-goal lead at halftime. Surely this is even better than you had hoped.
Oh, sure. We had to weather the storm early. I thought Carolina brought it pretty good from the start. We weren't precise enough with the ball, and then after we were able to kind of settle the game a little bit, it got a little bit more in our favor, and we created some nice chances.
Well, 2 goals from your bench players. How does that feel with the depth and going into the rest of this game and the NCAA tournament?
Well, of course, it's an important part, Kat. I think that everyone around the country realizes if you can take kids off your bench that have the quality to come into a game like this and play and contribute, and in this case, score a couple of goals, it's a big asset.
Mark, fantastic start. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Mark Krikorian joining us from the sideline, and there are some glum Carolina faces and some pensive Florida State faces carry North Carolina. 2-goal leads don't happen often against Carolina. Can Florida State carry the day and win an ACC championship? We'll find out that and more. Halftime is coming up.